Hard times, man.
What up, dope people? Welcome to Wake Up Woodward, man, where we try, man. It's our goal to bring you the most and the best comprehensive sports coverage, especially focused on Detroit sports. But we also try and give you our sage wisdom, like our guy, the number one draft pick KG just did. Tell him again, man. Don't let him get your cash.
Don't let her take half your shit, man. Hey, call them, man. They gonna get you together, man. It's hard times. We know it. Don't let her do that.
Hey, you know, and wake the people up real quick, KG.
Wake up out of your sleep.
Let's rock, man. It is our Woodward Pistons segment, so that means we got the legend Rod Beard for a couple segments. This one and then around the city as well with the Detroit news. We got to get this drum roll going, a special NBA Draft Day edition. Let's rock. Hey, yo! Shout out and welcome to the legend Detroit News, Rod Beard, brother. How are you doing? Hey, listen, before we get into Rod's thoughts, this day used to be a holiday. For the last 2 or 3 years, we've been doing this, Rod. We've been doing these shows. You're coming to this year, and it's just kind of like, But take it away, Rod. I see you over there, man.
Oh,
I don't hear you.
No audio.
No audio, Rod.
Nah.
We'll see if we can get the audio going.
No.
Because we got a lot to discuss today, man. Listen, while Rod gets that together, I'll tell you guys what's on the docket today. We're going to get Rod's thoughts. We also we got to talk about this news that we got up here on the board. The NBA draft, obviously, we're going to get and pick Rod's brain about that. We got the front office changes that we have to discuss, including the latest. Rod Beard did write an article on the latest hire of Dennis Lindsey to the Detroit Pistons. And then we got to talk about some of these free agency rumors and what this summer could actually look like for the Detroit Pistons, which is going to be an interesting one because there's already some kind of rumors that kind of shape what I believe this Pistons offseason can look like. And I don't know how fans are going to take that. Is it in alignment with what Trajan Langdon has been saying? Yes. Is it in alignment with where Detroit Pistons fans and their support that's been hanging by a very, very, very worn thread? Are they cool with it? I don't know. I don't think so. Broder was not cool with kind of the prospects of what things could be. And when you look at the names that they're connected to, it's like,
I think there's one name. There's one name that has turned into the boogeyman or Lord Voldemort for Detroit Pistons fans. Mm-hmm. I think you guys can figure out who it is.
Yeah.
And for the record, this particular player, Tobias Harris, by the way.
Yes.
He's not... He made $36 million last year. I think that's one thing that kind of gives Pistons fans cause for pause. And you should, by the way, because Tobias Harris in no world is worth $36 million. I don't see him as this horrific player that if the Pistons got, I would just lose my mind over. I mean, he's a lifetime 17-point per game guy on 37% from three. Like, I don't see what the huge difference other than money would be between him and like KCP or somebody like that. Yep. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm missing something on Tobias Harris. But other than money, I'd be okay with it. If you can get him at an okay price. But I'd be okay with a lot of people. I'd rather have OG, for example. I'd probably rather have Gary Trent Jr. But Tobias Harris isn't a bad option to me.
Najee Marshall has also been another name of interest as well. We're going to get to the free agency outlook and rumors towards the end of this segment. It sounds like we might have Rod back on the line.
Yeah, I heard something. Try it. Yeah, because I heard something else too. So let's give it a shot. Rod, you there?
You there, brother? No.
Still muted.
No sound yet. He's saying give us 1 minute. No sound yet.
Right. You got it, Rod.
Let's see what he works out here, man. Rod the GOAT, the legend.
Yeah.
But let's start here because he can then join the conversation with the NBA draft because he actually posed a pretty interesting tweet last night on X, obviously, about the Detroit Pistons. A couple of Pistons draft scenarios to consider. This is via at Detroit News Rod Beard, at DET News Rod Beard. 1, draft Klingon at 5 and hold for trade options. At worst, you have a capable NBA center. Obviously, that has implications with Jalen Duren. Is he going to be an aspect of a 4 that you could trust next to a Klingon? Is he coming off the bench? Is Klingon coming off the bench, or are you trading Jalen Duren? 2, trade down or out and prevent adding another young player to the roster. Or 3, package the pick and try to get a savvy veteran. thoughts, and I was going to try and get Rod's thoughts on that as well. But Flannel, I'll start with you, man.
I mean, me.
Oh, I heard something.
Me personally, I don't like the idea of drafting Klingon at 5. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, I want a shooter, and I'm very bullish on that because, and I gave this stat on Big D Energy, that the top 18 three-point shooting teams in the NBA, the Boston Celtics were 2, by the way, in the regular season, they were all either playoff or play-in teams. And there's questions about Jalen Duren defensively and everything, and Donovan Klingon, I think he projects to be better than Jalen Duren defensively, but I'm all about option 3. And I feel like as the draft gets closer, it's less and less likely to happen. But if you can package that pick with maybe one of the young players and get a veteran, like even like a Zach LaVine, for example, or Brandon Ingram, that still to me is the pipe dream.
Yeah, I'm still on board with what we've all been kind of saying for a while now. You got to go out there and you got to get some high-level scorers, some high-level NBA players to pair with the Cade Cunningham. I think that's the only way that you really take this thing serious. I do understand the approach of a more patient kind of rebuild or build process, but if it's right there for you, you got the cap space, you have the capital right now. Right now you have Cade entering this kind of contract extension talk. I want to maximize that next 4 to 5 years. I don't know how much you can really afford to wait, because what if things don't, or to take things patient, they're not going to be waiting, they're still going to be working, but instead of like you said, going after one of those ringers, does that put Cade in a position in 2 or 3 years to say, you know what,
I'm out.
Maybe I'm out.
Yeah.
But do we have we'll try, Rob, one more time.
I heard something.
I heard it again, so I don't know.
Hey, you there, brother?
Oh,
I am here.
Hey, let's go. The legend is in the building. What up, though?
What's up,
Rod Beard.
What up, though?
Hey, let's go. Hey, you know what? We were talking about this kind of tweet that you put out, this X post that you put out there about your different hypotheticals. I wanted to get your thoughts on that as well. We brought it up for the fans as well, for the chat family. The draft Klingon at 5 and hold for trade options and whatnot. Kind of wish I already know where your mind is at, but what are you doing today if you're Trajan Langdon?
Well, I think it is. If you're going to draft somebody, you want a piece that's going to be an NBA player. The two that I will focus on are Klingon and Connect. Those are the two guys that I would say, hey, if I'm keeping this pick, those are two guys who sort of, not even, Klingon doesn't feel a need, but let me go a step further on this. If you had to trade and to bring something in, the number 5 pick may not be enough. If you feel comfortable enough, if you feel comfortable enough with Klingon that you can now put Duren as a trade piece, does Duren and the number 5 get you something? Maybe. If I'm another team, I'm not hanging up the phone at Duren and 5 or Duren and whoever else. Throw whatever other Ivy, whatever. Player, now I'm listening. But if you tell me 5 Ivy and whoever else, then yeah, whatever. Go kick rock somewhere. But I think Duren might be able to bring you a little bit more back if you really like Klingon's game and you feel like he's closer to being a defensive presence. Maybe he's got a better jump shot. Maybe there's a higher ceiling there than you see for Duren. I don't necessarily believe that, but I think that is a viable option that you can look at and say, if you're putting this pick again with a veteran you have on the roster and some other pieces and trying to create something, you're going to have a harder time doing that than anything else. And again, I just don't see a lot of pieces that I would want on the roster that are immediate helps to me.
Man, you know what? And that's a very, very, very interesting strategy there. If you do bring in a Klingon, obviously trading or being able to utilize Jalen Duren in a trade, that helps to kind of free up this logjam, and hopefully a part of a return for Jalen Duren will be some shooting. Not that anybody is racing to trade Jalen Duren, but it's just talking about the different strategies that the Detroit Pistons could employ, because we don't know how Trajan Langdon actually values or doesn't value this roster. It's not his roster. We talk often about different GMs. We talk about the college game. We talk about the fact that they need their players at their positions. We talk about it with the Tigers and Scott Harris and everything he's going through right now, with the fact that a lot of these players on the roster in question aren't his guys. Some of these guys are Al Avila guys, effectively. So it's like, when I kind of look at this thing, I don't know how, from the outside looking in, other teams, other front offices might have looked at our young talent and said, you know what, maybe we can really push this thing ahead and put ourselves in a better financial standpoint, because Jalen Duren is going to need a new contract soon as well. I like Jalen Duren. I do believe that he has some steps forward that he will and has to take. So I wouldn't be on the side of trading him, but I can understand that type of a strategy. And I'm with you as well. When you're talking about taking a player in this draft, obviously there's some high potential guys, but I am for a player that can step in kind of right away and help out. Do you have anything on that draft?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Because it's the draft, because the Pistons are at 5, and because it's not the strongest draft, at least on paper. Is there anything that the Pistons could do at 5 or with any sort of trade or anything that would make you flip a table?
Flip a table in anger?
Yes. In anger.
It's a flannel move.
I don't know if they can do anything that makes me angry.
Bronny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
That is exactly it. Ronnie at 5 would. I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm out.
I'm going to other people's houses and flipping tables with Ronnie.
All right. Closing time, man.
I'm going to other people's houses and flipping tables. Yo, you know what? It would be exactly like that, dog. Those are exactly the vibes, man. I was trying to, you know what? I didn't know what the feeling was that I was feeling if the Pistons really were to do this. And it's exactly that, Rod. Like, man, my neighbor's tables is getting flipped too. Goodness gracious. That would be it.
Oh my God. That would be, I
don't even want to think about it.
5. It's not going to happen. It wouldn't happen. But even with the second round pick, I would just sort of be like, for real, that's what we're doing. Mm-hmm. For real.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, because I do, man. This front office is being billed as highly intelligent. It's being billed as basketball minds. And this is probably the best segue for this to get into our front office, which is next on our agenda. You know, they've made some additions. I know that you wrote an article as well about Dennis Lindsey being hired by the Detroit Pistons. And they've made, and when you look at the totality of this thing, since the end of the season up until now, there's been a lot of change in this front office, including, Monty and Troy out, Blackstone, Holden in, as well as the latest Dennis Lindsey. You just speak to, especially since we haven't got the opportunity to have your thoughts on the Trajan Langdon press conference, just kind of the front office as a whole, as well as what you liked about or didn't like or felt about Trajan Langdon's press conference.
Yeah, let me start there with Langdon's presser. I liked it because he was honest, and he said, we've got a lot of work to do. He didn't try to tell you to sell you a used car about this team is good and we're going to do anything else. It was very authentic and honest, and just, I've got to assess, I've got to look. I didn't pay very much attention to this team when I was in the Western Conference, so I've got to do some assessment. They've already been doing the work. And I mean, even the idea that they were interviewing at 4 a.m, and he brought that up like, bro, this is what it's going to take for me to get this job. Yeah. Okay. Well, he's not going to give you a lot of smoke screens. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks and exactly what he feels. And even to the degree that he thought about the draft and said, we're going to pick somewhere. I mean, if it's number 5 or whatever. So he's already giving you the idea that they're thinking about trading out of it or trading down at least, because the value may not be there at 5. That's a refreshing thing to see in your team president at the intro presser. I think what they've assembled in the front office in getting Dennis Lindsey, and we said this before, is we thought that might be something that was the holdup in this whole thing. That, and to be clear, he's not the general manager; he's an SVP of basketball operations, which is sort of the same, but it gives him a little bit more clout with that title that he can go out and do some stuff. It's not just, I'm a general manager, let me call Trajan and see if we can do this. He has the clout to pull the strings himself and to do a lot of that stuff. So I think having him in a basketball sense helps, because it is going through the winning with them this year, going through the rebuild that he did with Utah, and getting Donovan Mitchell, getting Rudy Gobert, assembling what that roster was like. And that should tell you something about what he thinks. If he's into Rudy Gobert, he's into, hey, defense, big man, give me a guard who's versatile. That's a glimpse into what he likes. the Pelican side of it too. They're turning this around. They're not afraid to make a big CJ McCollum trade and to really develop some of their younger guys too. That's not all that revolutionary, but you can get a sense of what this front office is going to be like.
Hey, Rod, and speaking of the front office, I wanted to ask you about ownership. Do you think that there's a legit maybe change in thinking in terms of ownership? Tom Gores at the press conference, he took a lot of accountability, admitted to some of the mistakes he's made in the past. He also admitted that this is the most hands-on he's ever been with the team. So do you think that there's a legitimate change of thinking in ownership, and do you feel more confident that Trajan will be the one to make all of the basketball decisions going forward?
You can only hope. I mean, because the idea that they say they want a CEO, and a CEO means leave me alone.
Yeah.
I only answer to the board of directors. That is all that matters. And if that board of directors is Gores and whoever else, then leave me alone. Don't call me unless it's something important. I'll call you when I need something, but let me cook. Just let me cook, and I'll let you know when the meal is done. And that's exactly what it should be in this situation. And people say they want an owner who's involved in everything else. I keep saying you say you want that, but you get a Mark Cuban, you get an owner who's all in the videos.
Jerry Jones.
You don't want that. You don't want him to be, and not specifically Gores, but you want an owner who does what he does, sign the checks and do the things that you need to do. And he admitted, hey, this is a lot of money that I got to eat, but Trajan is the guy that we need and the type of person who can connect all of these disparate pieces of the organization.
And I'm glad you mentioned Trajan in the front office, because I was excited about Dennis Lindsay as well, because you're putting together two smart basketball minds who were GMs of well-run organizations. We all know what Trajan did in New Orleans. We've been talking about it for weeks now. But even Dennis Lindsay, you mentioned getting a guy like Rudy Gobert, trading for him late in the first round of the draft, and trading for Donovan Mitchell on draft night in the middle round after losing Gordon Hayward from a 50-win team. And Donovan Mitchell just allows you to pretty much keep it pushing to the point where they got to the 1 seed. All that being said, I am in belief that getting another smart basketball mind in the front office is a good thing and can only make it better. But there's been some rumblings in the chat, and I can see where they're looking at of too many cooks in the kitchen, egos, and all of that. What side of this are you on?
No, I think you want to have as many smart minds in the room as you can, but you know that Trajan has the hammer at the end of the day, that he's going to be the one that makes the decision and it's on him. And to a degree, you can say maybe that was the issue before, that they didn't have enough, that if it was Troy making a lot of the decisions and he didn't have enough people around him to give him the opposing point of view, then that's a consideration too. But in Troy's case, you didn't have a team president, so it really was him, and there was some input from an Aaron Tellem and from a Tom Gores at that point. I think you just need to have a well-rounded and a very concise agreement on what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. If we all agree on what the plan is and what we're trying to do, we can have 100 different ways to get there, but we figure out what's going to work best in this situation. So again, I think all of this stuff coming together pseudo last minute says to me that they're not keeping this pick, or they may have something very specific that they're looking for, and if it's not there, it's not there. But just reading the tea leaves, I can't see them picking at 5. And they may surprise you. They may do something else. If Clingan is there at 5, the tweet that I made yesterday, if he's there at 5, this is chess. If you can do it, if you can pick at 5, you can trade down to 8 and get an asset 5 and an asset for 8, and you get connect at 8. You've won this draft.
Yeah.
You won because you got an additional asset, and you got a guy that was on your board that you wanted from the very beginning. That's a little bit risky, and that was the other part of that. Keep clinging, or take Clingan at 5, keep clinging, and you just kind of see what happens. Mm-hmm. But at worst, you have Clingan. But I think if you can get connect and you can get a 2028 first round pick, whatever the case is, then you've won this draft just by getting additional assets in a bad draft. Or even next year, you get a protected pick in the first round, it opens you up to have some other trade assets to do some other things.
You know what, man? They need to find a way to get Rod into the Detroit Pistons front office as well.
Absolutely.
Because the strategies this morning have been on point. And you know what? Just moving along now, we're going to get into these free agency rumors as well. I'm going to start with the coaching. The Detroit Pistons has been reported. The Detroit Pistons top 2 candidates, James Borrego as well as J.B. Bickerstaff. And with the timing of Monty Williams firing, like when it happened right at the peak of kind of the news that James Borrego was really the lead candidate and expected to sign a contract with him with the Cleveland Cavaliers by the end of that week. And then all of a sudden, Cleveland Cavaliers pivot, and now James Borrego is being strongly considered by the Detroit Pistons for their vacant head coach job. And then beyond that, when we really get down to the free agency of it, Claxton to the 313, he's been rumored or expected the Pistons are going to make a big push for him. $25 million annually is the rumored price tag for him. Tobias Harris, none of us are in the woods about that. We've all heard about the rumored interest there. And then you also have this little bit of news that was reported by the Stein line, Mark Stein. Quentin Grimes is a potential outgoing piece in a trade to Dallas that would send Tim Hardaway Jr. to Detroit. So you're talking about potential of Tobias Harris, Nick Claxton, and Tim Hardaway Jr. I know initially they were also looking at Malik Monk, so now that he's off the board, I wonder if Tim Hardaway Jr. is kind of a pivot in that same direction to kind of fill that same lane. But if that winds up being what this kind of offseason is, how do you rank that, or how do you kind of, break that down as it relates to what you think this team is trying to do moving forward? Because it doesn't necessarily move the complete needle for me, but when you're talking about taking a complete step forward with getting some NBA rotation guys, you're going to see some improvement. And I do believe that it would allow the Pistons to form some type of a foundation, but it's not quite going out there and getting those high-level stars, those high-level scorers, those high-level all-star level players to fit with Cade Cunningham to really accelerate this Detroit Pistons build.
Yeah, I think those are the types of players in terms of veteran leadership, a Tobias or a Tim Hardaway. But I need scoring. I need a killer. I mean, I need somebody I need Zach LaVine. Let me just say it that way. I need Zach LaVine. Just go bring me Zach LaVine. I will eat that contract. I don't care. But at least you took a risk on something that was either boom or bust. And I'll take the boom. I'll take the opportunity. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. But you scared money's not going to make money in this case. And to say Tobias Harris by himself, I don't know if that gets it done. He needs other pieces around him as well. I don't see Tobias as an A1 piece with Cade, and you're talking about a significant change. He is a piece, but not the piece. Now, if you tell me Zach LaVine and Tobias and Tim Hardaway, I can listen to that. I can listen to it.
And obviously, oh no, go on ahead, Rod. Go on ahead, brother.
No. I think that starts to get you there where, okay, that's that. If you give me Jeremy Grant and Zach LaVine, I feel really good, really good at that point. And whatever you have to clear off to make that work, you give me both of those guys, I feel very, very good about where we're going.
Really good about where we're going. Obviously, we know the OG Anunoby news kind of turned down the Knicks offer. He's looking for a lot more money. It's rumored that they want to be able to keep him, but with some of the moves looks like they're making, maybe the Pistons have an outside shot. But KJ, I know you had a question.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask about. What do you think? No, you all good. But what do you think about the possibility of the Pistons landing OG Anunoby, and do you think he's a good fit for this roster?
I think he's a fit, but he's not the killer that you want either. There aren't a lot of them out on the market right now. And again, Zach LaVine, you're eating that contract of 42, 45, whatever the number is going to be. I think there's some safer options that Jeremy Grant, we talked about him a lot, is a safer option in that you've got to really just play the market and see what teams are in trouble and what the bargains look like. There's some risk in each one of these. But if you can get some assets back with them, that mitigates some of the risk and makes it a little bit more worth it. That these teams with draft picks and players that they're trying to get rid of, like where are the Knicks or where are the Nets right now? Like, is there other stuff that you can poach off of their roster that they seem to be sort of pushing in and saying, hey, we're going to rebuild this and on the fringes of things if they're getting rid of Bridges. And that's a good deal for them to get a ton of first-round picks. More power to them, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? That right now kind of concludes the Woodward Pistons segment of this, and we want to kind of get around Detroit sports with the Detroit News featuring Rod Beard, the Detroit News sports editor-in-chief. And we also have